We're live.
We're live. Here we are.
Here we are.
Hello, everybody. We were just grimacing at each other in the virtual realm. How is everybody doing? It is zoology time. It is. Hi. We've been checking our video quality and our audio before we even got here, but if at any point you guys have trouble hearing us or if our background music is too loud, you just let us know and we will edit it. But yes, we do look pretty adorable. Nasi is in their new VR body. Look at that. And they have hands.
I have hands.
They have hands. I don't. I'm just a head. Look at this, chat. Hold on. Oh no.
Oh no. Spooky.
I'm just a head. I have a buddy. Somewhere in this mess. In any case, y'all don't want to just see floating heads and hands, right? Y'all want to learn about zoology. And that's what we're here for. This is Zoology 101, the panel version of one of the classes that I will be teaching on Twitch here soon. It's basically an abbreviated version of a zoology class. We're going to try and teach you the basics of zoology within this 1 hour panel, ? I believe it's an hour. until they kick us off.
Yeah.
We will be paying attention to the Twitch chat as we go, of course. So ask your questions in there. But for any big picture Q&A questions, whether it's about our careers, us personally, etc., we'll do that at the very end. Right, so just in case you guys don't know who we are, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. Nasi, would you like to go first?
Sure. My name is Nasi, or Entabird online. I'm a PhD student, an entomologist. I study ants right now, and I'm a professor at the University of Guelph. Hello.
Hello, Nasi. And hi, I am Dr. Wildlife. I am a zoologist who currently manages a zoo just outside of the Toronto area. My specialty is conservation through education. I've been in the field of working in zoos and aquariums for about 13 years now. I've worked with things from African penguins to toucans to elephants and rhinos to tigers and lions, and now Nile crocodiles, gators, and big snakes, and everything in between. Not just big snakes. I got some tiny lizards too. Any ants in the chat? Nasi, are there any ants in the chat? Someone's asking.
I can make sure that there's ants in the chat.
Oh, there's some ants! The ants are loose.
They're also loose on my desk.
Oh no! So if y'all see Nasi doing weird things, Nasi's having an ant escape in real life on their desk.
Yeah, I have a terrarium full of ants, and they're not very happy right now.
They're not very happy. Right, so let's turn down this chill hop a little bit as we're getting started so I can hear my own thoughts. So any good zoology class obviously starts out with a basic understanding of what we're going to be talking about. That applies to zoology, it applies to any course, university, high school, elementary. You want to know the basic definition of what the class is going to be about. So what is zoology, chat? Can anyone tell me?
Shout it out.
Shout it out.
In the meantime,
Okay, what's study of animals. So study of animals is a great overview of explaining that for sure. In a more technical way, zoology is the scientific study of the behavior, structure, physiology, distribution, and the classification of animals. No, that's kind of a long definition. It has a lot of components to it. So today what we're going to do is we're going to try and break that down so you guys can understand each of the little parts, from behavior to structure to physiology, distribution, and classification. Yeah, we know our chat heads are in the way of the text. we read off everything that's up on our screen. The text is mainly there to look pretty for you guys.
It's a puzzle. You have to figure out what's behind me.
It's a puzzle, but I am gonna like rotate this a little bit so it's more centered. There we go. So, the first thing that we're gonna start off with is the classification of animals. And we're gonna get real sciencey here, you guys. I hope some of these terms I hope they're not too scientific for you, okay? Like the majestic sea flap. Hopefully that's not too technical. Nasi, what would you rank this animal name at?
I would rank that as 7 out of 10.
7 out
Not
of 10.
Not enough flaps.
Not enough flaps. Needs more flap. Okay, we got the danger noodle. How does that make you feel? What kind of ranking do we got there?
Dangerous. 10 out of 10.
Dangerous. 10 out of 10. Trash panda. What's that ranking?
That's 5 out of 10.
5 out.
Not enough panda. Too much trash.
Oh yeah, I feel that, right? I feel that completely. That's not enough. Not enough. Oh no, one of the mods in the chat. Are you a raccoon? Oh no, they are.
Oh.
Oops.
Don't cancel us, please.
Don't cancel us. Please no. Please no. Nasi, I think you have to rethink that ranking on this one.
That's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow, that's a 10 out of 10. I would say 15 out of 10. Wow. Okay,
10,
moving on.
10.
So we had the fried egg jellyfish. Chat. Obviously, all those names that we were talking about before, they're internet names, right? Like, the internet tries to make things as cute as possible by assigning its own names to it. How do we feel about the fried egg jellyfish, chat? Do you think that's a real name or an internet name?
And what do you rank it?
We want to know the answers to both of that. Cass already called it out. This one is a real one. Okay, what do you think? Why did it? Oh, it switched back to a raccoon for a second on my screen.
That's weird. The raccoons are 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 out of 10 out of 10. 11 out of 10 says Cass. 10 out of 10 says Obsidian. Kind of makes me want to cook some eggs. I wish I could say the same. I'm not a big fan of eggs. But yes, indeed, this is a real critter. It is a real animal. It's a real common name that someone gave to this type of jellyfish. Common names typically are pretty descriptive of what an animal looks like. Obviously, this one looks like a fried egg, so someone called it a fried egg. Someone says it's a UFO. If it was flying,
it does look like a UFO.
Yeah. This critter also has a unique, real common name. It's the Santanic leaf-tailed gecko. They get their name mainly because they often have some very red, demon-like eyes. Not always, though. For the most part, this gecko has some very cool-looking, naturally green and brown camouflage. But that's its common name. It's what people gave to it. He likes flaming hot Cheetos.
Who doesn't?
Babes in it. Next, we have the star-nosed mole. Nasi, why do you think it got that common name?
Because it's a star.
It's a star. Star-nosed moles are stars. They also have a star-nosed face.
True.
That's what made them stars. That's what made them celebrities.
It's like somebody put a starfish and just slapped it on its face.
Just slapped it on its face. Oh, one of my favorite common names out there is the white-bellied go-away bird. This animal gets its name from one, probably guessed it, the white belly, but also from its call. This bird actually has a vocalization that sounds like it's yelling, "Go away." It's saying, get out of here, go away. And
watch, I can imitate. Go away.
Oh,
go
wow,
away.
wow.
Go away.
Look at that. What? Can we get it one more time for the chat?
Go away.
Oh, perfect. That's perfect. But all jokes aside, some bird vocalizations do sound like certain phrases. So we're memeing right now, but it does sound like that. Close to it, obviously. As close as a bird's call can. Now, we've shown you guys some weird examples of common names. And you've seen how strange and surreal some of them can get. And we want to ask you, why do you think common names are not commonly used in science? Why don't we typically see common names when we're using or like reading scientific articles or when we're releasing a report about an animal's population?
Because they're too good.
Because they're too good. They're too cute. They are not as specific. It's a good answer. Any others? Any other thoughts?
From the class? Participation is part of the grade.
It is. Yeah, you get a participation grade at the end of this. Confusion with other descriptors in the text. I do know that not every animal has a common name. Not technically descriptive. There are too many things you can call a sea flap. That's a very good answer, yeah. They are not specific to the evolutionary tree. Not as detailed. Language barrier. Ha! See, everything you guys were saying was all accurate for sure. And then the reason why I kept kind of droning on for a little bit is hoping that someone would say the language barrier thing, because that leads into one of the best examples you can use for why common names aren't commonly used in science, and it's this animal here. Chat, what do you call this animal?
Kitty.
Kitty. I want to see what you guys, what you refer to them. We got puma, cougar, mountain lion, cougar, puma. A baby, says Director Pumpkin. Lots of mountain lions. Someone else says kitty.
Danger baby.
Danger. Florida panther. Nice. Catamount. Ooh.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that one.
All right, so we got a lot of good examples there, but as you guys can see, there's a lot of common names for this one particular animal. In fact, this animal has 40 different names in the English language alone. They have one of the largest range of any animal out there. They can be found all the way up here in Canada, where I am, and past the point of where I am. Well, I say I am. Nasi's here too. I'm so sorry. We live in the same area now. I forget because we can't see each other.
Home.
Ah! I forget because of the pandemic. We can't even see each other. We finally live close. Y'all better
go away.
Just
go
as
away.
Go away. Just as a little side note before we continue on, I hope you guys are ready for all the nerdy content that's gonna come out once it's safe for Nasi and I to film together.
Ooh,
2 furry scientists within driving distance. It's gonna be insane.
Look out.
Look out. So this animal can be found all the way up in Canada, all the way down into the tip of South America. And you can better believe that every group of people that encountered this animal, they were calling it different things. And that's how it ended up with 40 different names in the English language alone. But it doesn't stop there. This animal actually holds the Guinness Book World Record for the animal with the most number of names, because it's not just English that they were encountering. There's people that speak Spanish, Portuguese, all sorts of indigenous languages along the way, and you can bet each of those groups of people were naming it different things as well. The reason why that we typically use scientific names when we're referring to animals in a technical way is because we can use that as a standard when we're talking to other people. So when you're talking to someone from a different country or even from a different region, for example, in the United States alone, where I grew up in Arkansas, we called them cougars, and if you're from Florida, they're panthers, and other areas they're mountain lions, and sometimes people get really confused because they're like, that's not a cougar, it's a panther. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So that scientific name lets us better understand exactly who we're talking about in the animal kingdom. Nasi has another wonderful example here.
Scientific names, they often are supposed to be descriptive of the organism, like where it was found or what it looks like. But when we run out of names of very specific things to call things, particularly with insects when things are so diverse, we start to call them all kinds of things. And I've been involved with a few different naming of insects. I've named a couple of insects myself, and this one was named in a lab that I worked with previously. Can you all imagine what this bee's name is? Shout out some names in the chat for this bee. What would you call this bee?
I would call it BB.
BB.
Oh, BB.
It's a good BB. Scary.
I like Walter.
Oh, that's sad. It's a very small bee. It's very cute. Has a long face. Steven.
Albino.
Albino. Barry B. Benson.
Oh no!
One.
Oh god! Get out of here, Beezus Maximus.
Those are good.
Gotcha.
But my friend who named this bee actually named it after Charizard. So this species is called Chalicola charizard. Genus Chalicola, species Charizard. Because my friend was like, oh, its face kind of looks like a Charizard. And published a paper on it. And now this is what its scientific name is in the literature. And you can actually find there's a little tidbit on Bubblepedia about this species on the Charizard page. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so scientific names don't have to be boring. You can still sorry, I got distracted by the chat. Scientific names aren't always boring things. Some people think that all the fun is in common names, but scientific names can also be really fun. This Charizard is a great example. We also have this. This is a group of slime mold beetles, and their scientific names were all named after the Bush administration. Next slide. Enough said. Next we have this species of trilobite. And the person that discovered the trilobite was a big Star Wars fan, so they named this one after Han Solo. And its scientific name is Han Solii, which is pretty dang awesome.
Yeah.
Chat, who is this? Let me know who this is.
Do 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 do.
Mick Jagger, yes, an old guy, yeah.
Fair.
So what is Mick Jagger typically famous for, besides like his voice and being in a band and stuff? What is a physical attribute of him? David Bowie's lover.
Don't know, but it looks like he's got moves.
Big Lips McGee, absolutely. So, when scientists discovered this species of prehistoric hippo, and they took one look at it, they named it after Mick Jagger. And Nasi, I'm gonna move you for a second. So y'all can see the scientific name, Jaeger Merksy, named after Mick Jagger. Now, chat, I don't want you to freak out by looking at this diagram just yet, because you're not having to worry about all these little technical parts. That's not what this class is. This class is a very basic overview. So what we're going to be focusing on here is just the holes that are in these skulls. And you may be thinking, well, heck, doctor, there are so many holes and I can't keep track of them. Nasi's also blocking some of them. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. I'm blocking some too, so we're just gonna move us to the middle for a second.
I can block more of them.
Oh, we can block them. So, what we're gonna be focusing on are what we refer to in zoology as the skull openings. And the skull openings are those holes that are directly behind the eyes. And it's typically where muscles and other tissues and such would start attaching to the skull. Or you could think of it as a way of cable management, but for animals. Instead of trying to cable manage all your computer things to make it go through certain holes and such, we have skull openings. So it's a very creepy kind of cable management type thing in a way. It's a very crude way of me describing what these things are. So, different types of animals have different amounts of skull openings. We have anapsid, and I'm going to use Nasi to point to things. We have
pointy bird.
Yeah, we have anapsid here. To your, to, oh,
there,
no,
there.
to your left. This way. I know. No. Oh, okay. Yeah, point down.
Point
So
down.
we have anapsid. That's typically things like turtles that don't have any skull opening. And then we have diapsid, which is here,
In there.
and it has 2 skull openings. That's typically things like your birds, like Nasi here, reptiles, etc., etc. And then the next skull that we're going to talk about is synapsid, which is below Nasi one. Oh, it's below you.
Below me. Can't see it.
See, that's why our classes are so entertaining, guys. It's we have a lot of fun with this. Synapsid has 1 skull opening, and chat, what do you think has that? So we've talked about your birds and reptiles and such. What other group of animals are we missing in this discussion? Someone said it's a very metal kind of cable management.
Nature's metal.
Nature's metal. Mammals. Absolutely. Mammals. So now that we know that information, that typically anapsid here is turtles. We have diapsid for the birds, reptiles, and critters that fit into those categories. And then we have synapsid down here that is the mammals. Knowing that, what would you classify this animal as?
Baby.
Big bitey. And if we go quiet for a bit, we're just kind of giving you guys time to read this bird.
And trying to stop ant escape.
A mammal. Yeah, ding, 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 ding. It is a mammal. Oh, and you guys may be like, what the heck? That doesn't look like any mammal that I know of. That's because this is a mammal-like reptile. Specifically, this critter here is a Dimetrodon, and you guys may have heard about them in your dinosaur books. Well, surprise, these guys technically aren't dinosaurs. They are a mammal-like reptile ancestor of us. They did some pretty really cool things. They were able to regulate their own body temperature, much like we can, and very different from reptiles and such. And they, it's believed, scientists that have studied these guys, that they were able to do that through that giant sail that they had on their back.
Sail.
Sail. Now, we've talked a lot about names. We want to get to the fun part. We want to talk about the behavior of animals. And boy, do we have some interesting behaviors to share with the class today. Nasi, what would you call this animal here?
Trash panda.
Trash panda! Oh my god. Well, we have a chi. We have a chi. We have a chi. This is a cheetah. And we often think of most big cats, if not all big cats, as being these awesome predators that fear nothing. Especially when you're a cheetah. I mean, look how regal this cheetah is. Look how regal. I'm even using my mouse to dictate just how regal he is. And as the chat said, it is also Lightning McQueen, because they are astonishingly fast. They are the fastest land mammal out there. But despite being fierce in terms of speed, they are also big old scaredy cats. And that's because when you're as thin and slender as a cat as they are, when you're out in the savannah and such, you have a lot of things that can go after you. Things like hyenas, lions, heck, even other like things that you would typically consider prey. If you get yourself in a bad situation, a big old mama comes and gets you when you're trying to get its baby, you're not really going to stand a chance against them. You're very fragile. So they're big, old, scaredy cats. One way that zoos kind of work around cheetahs being big old scaredy cats is they'll typically, if they're going to use a cheetah as an ambassador animal, they'll raise them alongside a dog, because that cheetah will look to that dog for support. You can think of it as like a service animal for a cheetah. If they see a dog is comfortable in this situation, they too are also comfortable. So they're big old scaredy cats. Oh my god. Nazi, I don't know if you saw did you see the chat?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay, I'm going to read that out loud because it's very good. Did you hear about the cheetah who robbed a bank? He ran away so fast that he almost got away with it, but he was spotted. Yeah. Dogs are everyone's best friend, too. Absolutely. Next, we have a snip.
Snip.
Obviously, I'm getting away with adding all these big cats because then Nasi gets a chance to talk about bugs. Bugs. So we have a floofy snip. And snips do some pretty strange things, one of which is chomping or hamping on their tail. And a lot of people think that, oh, this is just them being adorable. Some people also say, oh, well, this is a stereotypical behavior, which is typically referred to as a negative behavior that an animal is doing in zoos. Both of those are wrong, though I would say that they are definitely very adorable when they do this. But this is behavior they have evolved over time to help keep the tips of their tail extra warm. That fur obviously is very, very thick and does a really good job, but they can huff on it. Keep it a little warmer. Snap.
It's delicious, too.
It is delicious. Oh, cute little birds. It's your relatives, Nasi.
My cousins.
Your cousins. So these are cute little birds, and you often hear the saying, right, that birds mate for life, and they have this cute little pair, and they're always like that. Well, surprisingly, most birds are either poly or just rotate through a bunch of different mates. So the idea that birds, oh, they're all monogamous isn't quite true. These cute little birds that look like, they very easy finding just one little life partner, right? I almost got these mixed up again. So these cute little birds, right? They are one of the rare birds out there that are actually monogamous. You would think that with like their really good looks and stuff, they'd be one of the poly species, but they are not. On the other hand, this good looking hunk right here he gets all the ladies, maybe even some of the dudes too. I mean, who's to judge him? Yeah, Patu
for you and me and you.
What really stinks is that when we do this panel in real life, we're able to actually have suitors around with us that are able to help us illustrate these points. When we do it virtually, it's not the case, right? But there actually is a Patu suitor out there, Bobby Corwin, that you can find on Twitter, and we've had him up on stage when we do this panel before, and it's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Okay. Moving on to more cute stuff before we get into bug territory.
Bugs.
Bug time. We have some really cute little sea otters, and what's really unique about them, they have evolved a very cooperative behavior that when they're sleeping out at sea, they can hold each other's hands so they don't drift apart, which is absolutely adorable. Best friends.
Best friends stick together.
They do. Look at them. Look how cute they are. Look at that little face and that little nose. Look at that little nose. Now, it's not all just like cute behavior that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about some behavior that the party animals in the furry fandom can probably relate to. Here, we have some African elephants, and they are below a marula tree. Marula tree produce fruit that can often, I think they use it for rum sometimes, if I'm correct. But that's because when these fruits, like most fruits, start to kind of get too ripe and they're almost spoiling but not quite, they start to get alcoholic properties. And surprisingly, animals know that too. They know, and they will willingly go and eat marula fruit until they get drunk and they can't move properly.
Out of it.
They're out of it. They're out of it, absolutely. So a lot of people seem to think that humans are the only animals that really know how to party or know how to find ways to relax other than just napping or hanging out. They will willingly go to these marula fruit and eat it and get drunk from it. They feeling it. It's not just drinking that animals do. Sometimes they find other means. Here we have a poppy field that is in Australia, and if you guys don't know, poppy is often used in pharmaceutical drugs, mainly in painkillers. Well, these little guys, these little wallabies, they also like to use poppy. And farmers didn't always know that, so their fields weren't always wallaby proof, so to speak, and sometimes they would go out to their fields and they'd find these really strange crop circles in it and be like, what the heck happened? And when they started reviewing camera footage that they had out here, they realized the wallabies, they would come in and they would eat the poppy and they would get high out of their minds to the point that they would just kind of like be spinning around going crazy from it, and eventually wandering off and coming back and repeating the process. And these crop circles were always related to wallaby coming in and raiding the poppy field and having an absolutely crazy time. Though I do, like someone said in the chat, I wish it was aliens. That would be very cool. Aliens enjoying poppy. Oh, I lied. One more alcohol reference here. Monkeys, or just primates in general, I mean, obviously they're our closest living relatives. They love drinks. And if you ever visit a tropical area, it's wise to always keep an eye on your drinks because they will absolutely go after it. Absolutely. They'll take it. They'll take it.
Do a steal.
Yeah. And it's not just wallabies that enjoy getting high, Nasi.
Not at all. There is a group of lemurs that in South America, they like to get a little bit of buzz on with these millipedes. So these millipedes release a set of toxins, one of which is cardiac glycosides, and it just acts as a psychedelic, drives them wild. It causes them to slobber all over the place. It's a pretty wild show. Secondarily, or I guess primarily, they rub these millipedes on their body actually to get rid of things like mosquitoes and biting insects and stuff like that, because the toxin that's produced gets rid of some of that. But part of it too is they like to get a little high.
And that's typically what we like to refer to this behavior as, because it gets, I mean, is it 100% true? Not exactly, because as Nasi mentioned, they use it as an insecticide or a pesticide to get things off their body that they don't want there. But when you talk about lemurs getting high, it gets people's attention, and sometimes trying to educate people or doing conservation through education requires sharing these really exciting and strange facts to grab people's attention. And that's what we're doing here today with all these strange things. Someone said lemur shrooms in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, dang, I forgot to go to the next photo.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There's actually a really great YouTube video showing the behavior happen in real time. So if you're interested to see lemurs get high and go wild,
it's very cute.
Go.
It's very funny. Someone asked, what are your thoughts on cats liking catnip because it keeps mosquitoes away? I've actually, surprisingly, I don't think I've ever heard that.
No, I don't think I've ever heard that either.
I'll definitely be looking into that, though, but off the top of my head, I've never heard of that.
No. I don't think there's actually any compounds in catnip that are particularly deterrents of mosquitoes, so I don't think that's true.
Would be neat if
I think that one to just get cats excited.
Gets cats excited, yes. So we've been talking about the names and we've been talking about behavior. It's now time for us to move on to structure and physiology. There's a lot of really strange structures and physiology components to animals out there. One that I love referring to are the little spikes on a kitty's tongue. So on cats' tongues, no matter how small of a cat or how big of a cat, are these little keratin spikes. And when your cat licks you, that little tickle that you feel is from these spikes. And because it tickles, a lot of people seem to think it's cute. They're like, "Aw, like, it tickles. It's a really cute thing." But I'm here to tell you, it's actually kind of creepy. Because these keratin spikes, I know, wow, shocking. It's very creepy. These keratin spikes have evolved over time to help cats lick fur off flesh and flesh off bone. So it's part of
Dun,
how
dun,
they've
dun.
evolved to be great predators. So the next time you feel that little tickle when your cat is like licking your hand or something, that's what it is. It's still very cute, but also has a creepy component. But yeah, it's amazing what those keratin spikes are able to do when they're cleaning prey. It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, it's not like these cats have like butchers and stuff, right? That they can go to get all the fur and stuff off the bones. Someone said my cat is now suspiciously looking at me. My cat is
You know
trying to
my
wear off
secret.
my flesh to eat me. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, everybody's cat is like trying to go after them, trying to kill their humans.
Danger.
Danger. Oh no, Nasi, here
Oh
we go.
no. Bug time. Bug time, everybody.
Oh no.
So these kinds of weird physiological features exist in probably the most abundance in insects. There are all kinds of things that pop up in insects that's just like, wow, this is crazy that it exists. And one of those things that is my favorite to tell people about is with flies. So when flies are growing, they start life as a maggot, they turn into a pupa, a little cocoon, and then they turn into an adult, a flying adult. In order to go from a pupa stage to an adult, they kind of have to emerge from that cocoon somehow. Most insects, they just kind of break their way out of it, or they bite their way out, or they get spikes or something that they can break their way out of. The flies have developed this really strange mechanism, and I think it shows it on the next slide. Yeah, so there is kind of a dotted line on the pupal case of these flies, and when they are just emerging, the fly's head will open up, they shove a bunch of air into that opening, and they actually balloon their head out. So they blow up their head to pop open that top of the pupal case, and then they fly away, and their head closes back up, and they look fairly normal for a fly again. But it's kind of crazy to me that this weird physiological structure that they have a balloon in their head just exists to pop open their cocoon. Ta-da!
Oh my god. Little balloon heads. Now, we've been sharing some pretty interesting things, most of which are things that are from our scientific backgrounds, but zoology is not just in academia. You can find it all over the place, especially in pop culture, in some surprising locations. Y'all may remember this movie. It's called Finding Nemo. And here we have a clownfish and a blue tang. And chat, how would you describe the relationship throughout most of the movie? And while you're thinking about that, someone said, why did they even need wings if they just float? Nasi, that's a question for you.
We all float here, Georgie.
Oh my god.
I think that's what that was in reference to.
Is it?
I think so. I mean, I don't think it's actually that they float. It's just that there's a balloon in their head, and they're kind of like a monstrous creature.
I gotcha. Oh my god.
I got it.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Dory was annoying. Someone said clumsy. Yeah, I mean that's absolutely true. Marlin was like always annoyed by Dory, right? And in reality, these two species pretty much want nothing to do with each other. So when Pixar made this movie, it was Pixar, right? I forget sometimes. Disney owns everything these days, so I should just say Disney in general. When they made this movie, they very accurately portrayed the relationship that these two species have with each other. Out in the wild. One really cool thing I also want to point out on Dory, and I'm going to use my mouse, I know it's pretty small, to kind of point it out. So when they were creating the blue tang model, they even added this little bump right here. There are some species of tang that have like a very pronounced bump right here. There's even one species that's typically called a surgeon fish. That's one of its common names because it has like a little spike that kind of looks like a needle there. So they did a really good detail with making this. Obviously, they don't quite look like this, or this. I don't quite have a
Faces.
man face. But yeah,
Definitely.
for the most part, all these parts are very, very accurate, and it's surprising to see. Oh gosh, this is kind of a Nasi discussion. What movie is this from, Nasi?
This is from the movie Aliens. And if you
Alien.
remember anything about the movie Aliens, you got face huggers that implant embryos into people and then they explode out of them.
Someone just said this panel is very nice, and then when we showed this slide, they said, "Okay, I regret."
What is that?
So, Alien obviously is a very fictional movie, or is it, chat? Or is it?
Where is it, chat?
But it does pull a lot from science. It pulls a lot from zoology, and the method at which the aliens are able to reproduce is a very common thing that we see in parasitic type relationships out in the wild.
Yep.
Did they model it after real aliens? Maybe.
If you consider insects real aliens.
They can be. They can be. And this kind of leads me to the most important part of our whole panel. It's also the part of the panel that most people are like, what? Why? So, person who said that our panel was very nice and then you regretted it, you're going to regret it even more because here we are. So, Alien models things after real life in terms of parasitic relationships, and one of the best things that you can relate to the Alien series from the animal kingdom is that of botflies. So I'm just going to give my little introduction to how I stumbled across this, and I'm going to hand it over to Nasi to talk about their own experiences. But Phil Torres is an entomologist. I believe he's an entomologist, right? That's his specialty.
Yeah.
So he's an entomologist on Twitter. If you like following sciencey folks, I do highly recommend following him because he does some pretty amazing work. In March of 2019, he posts this. He says, "One of my mosquito bites from Peru keeps tingling, and this is me praying that I finally caught a botfly."
Botfly.
Nasi, why is it so cool to entomologists to get a botfly? Like, why are we so thrilled about that?
So it's kind of a staple. And I guess it's a staple. I was talking to another zoologist friend of mine a couple of days ago that, like, with working with specific groups, a rite of passage is kind of either getting bitten or like eating the thing that you work with in a way. And that is particularly true with entomology and insects. And if you ever do work in the tropics, like in South America, then one of the rites of passage as an entomologist is if you get a botfly, typically you'll try and raise it and let it grow out of your own body, and you'll become a mother in your own right.
Oh my god. Nasi, have you ever had any mother-like experiences?
I have done some field work down in Costa Rica. When I was doing field work down in Costa Rica, I got a little botfly in my arm, and I am happy to say that I gave birth to a beautiful little boy.
Oh no. Well, I have to ask, what did you name it?
I believe, like, I didn't name it at the time, but I believe the first time we gave this panel together, and it was like, I think it was FC. Was it FC? No.
Yeah, it was. Because we have this. This is when we hosted the panel in person together at Further Confusion.
And we named him Mitch.
So, on the ground here below the whiteboard, we have Bolty, who's one of a brilliant artist in the fandom and a good friend of Nasi and I. And we had them draw in real-time art depictions of things that we were talking about. And when it came to this part of the panel, Bolty just drew Nasi's doe character with a bump on their arm, which is what Bolty's drawing there. It just wrote Nasi the worst story I've listened to.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, getting a botfly is not all that bad. I get the squigglies that people get when they think of, like, okay, you have something living in your arm, and that's kind of gross. But it's like, it's not much worse than getting like a zit or something like that, and then you get a nice little friend at the end of it.
A nice little friend.
But
I forgot about this picture.
Oh, this one's so
This is,
good.
I just love how chaotic this picture is, because none of us are, like, in our suits, actually. We're just all kind of chilling, and Nasi's, like, manically laughing about how disgusted we all are. Oh my god. It's just
so good.
Saber's the one on the left, and Ari, my partner, is the one with the hands on their face, and I feel like you guys in the chat are them right now.
True.
Someone just said they would cut that fly out of their arm.
Yeah, and I mean, some people do. The kind of interesting thing about if you have a botfly and you want to get rid of it, it's not recommended that you kind of like pull it out or rip it out, because they often grab onto muscle or nerve tissue. The mother's tissue. Yeah, muscle or nerve tissue, and so it can be really painful. But what is recommended is you can typically put either Vaseline over the hole that they used to like breathe out of, and that will suffocate them, and then when they die you can pull it out. Or some people will put a steak or another piece of meat on top of it, and they'll crawl into the steak, and then you can just remove it kind of naturally, and you can leave them in that steak and they'll emerge eventually too.
Oh my god. Everybody's still going crazy about you saying mother. Mother, don't make me leave.
Freudian slip.
Oh my god. Yeah. Next topic, I guess. Here we go. So, scientists are weird about a lot of things. It's not just botflies that they're weird about. They also get a little weird when talking about other, like, some fictional creatures and such. And Pokemon are no exception. As you guys know, or hopefully you know, all Pokemon seem to come from eggs for the most part, right? And this has been a heated discussion in the scientific community for such a long time. Because, like, what? Why do they all lay eggs? Why do they all lay eggs? Which led to this very important question. Which Pokemon have cloacas? Because if you guys think about it, there's mammal-like Pokemon, but they're still laying eggs, and it's like, what is happening? What is happening? And I like how this one person followed up here, another scientist said, asking the real questions the government doesn't want you to ask. And it actually got into a heated discussion. It says, all right, but can we seriously talk about aspects of Pokemon biology that have really bothered me as a biologist? Like, are all mammal types monotremes? Like platypus and echidnas and such? Why has live birth never evolved? How much does a fire type have to eat daily? This discussion is from a couple of years ago, but we still use it in our panel because it was just so good. It was just so good. And it's a very, very long thread. I encourage you guys to try and look it up because it was heated. And what's a monotreme? A monotreme, to put it simply, is a mammal that lays eggs. So things like a platypus, an echidna, which you may know echidnas as the Niffler from the Fantastic Beasts series. They look very similar to the Niffler. Someone said, I recall an issue of Game Informer discussed the breakdown of Pokemon biology. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to look that up. Pokemon are all birds, confirmed. Nasi would love that.
Yeah. Bird time.
Bird time. All this being said, the best way to wrap up this class is zoologists are just weird. We just have to accept it. That's our statement. That's our too long didn't read. From naming critters, their common names and their scientific names, to the behavior that we study, the discoveries that we have made for how weird some animals are, to how we refer to animals in pop culture. Zoologists are weird. Nasi and I are no exception to that, as you guys can probably tell during this panel as I'm just dragging them along.
Going well.
Hi, here we are. So, I mean, we're just absolutely strange, and I think it comes with the career and maybe the type of person that wants a career in zoology, but it's, you know, it's a very awesome field to be in. Absolutely. Thankfully, we still have a little bit of time left in our panel, and if you guys want to know just how weird we are, the Q&A is now open. So let's hear about it in the chat. What kind of questions do you have for us? Obviously, keep it PG. And your questions can be career related. It could be questions about animals. Could be about us personally. Completely up to you.
About my son?
About your son, Mitch. I'll move us back to normal. What kind of ants are escaping? Oh, we saw it at the same time.
Yeah, I keep looking off to the opposite side because that is where my ant terrarium is. These ones are a common species to Ontario, Canada that I collected from my friend's garden 5 years ago now. And I've had them in the same terrarium for that whole time. It's kind of incredible. Ants live a really long time. They're called Myrmica alascensis. They're totally docile, totally harmless, but because it's spring, they're kind of freaking out and they're enjoying the warm weather, and I have to reseal the nest a little bit.
Someone says, I just want a career that pays and isn't retail. True that. Another question for you, Nasi. How weird did the botfly feel?
It does feel weird. It's like I said, I akin it to having a zit or something like that. It feels like the kind of constant low-lying pain of having a pimple or something. And then it's weird when you look at it because then you can see it moving and then you feel it moving. You don't really feel it moving regularly, but when you look at it and you can see it move, that's when you feel it. But otherwise, it's totally fine.
Twix asks, what do you know about horses? So, surprising fact about me is, well, I grew up on a farm. That's not the surprising fact, but we had a bunch of horses, and I actually did Western style riding. So, in horse shows, and I was a barrel racer. Most of elementary, middle school, and high school, and I would do barrel racing and pole racing. In terms of horses themselves, I'm not the most expert at horses, but I have cared for them most of my life. Nasi, what about you? Do you know anything cool about horses you want to share at the class?
I mean, I've been involved with horses a little bit. My family was also farm owner. We didn't have any horses in particular, but a few friends used our fields a little bit. And I learned a bit about horse parasites and how to treat horses for parasites while I was working with them and trying to treat the horses. So I know a little bit about horse parasites.
Nice. Oh, and then someone asked a really wholesome question. How are you today? Doing good? Nasi, how are you?
I'm doing very good. I had a wonderful morning. It's actually around 20 degrees in Ontario. First real day of spring here. And I actually got out. I gardened a whole bunch. Feeling good.
Yeah. Same here, minus the gardening. It's really nice weather here. Yesterday was quite warm. For those of you in Oklahoma that are 20 degrees isn't spring, we're talking in Celsius. So it's probably around upper 60s, lower 70s in Fahrenheit here right now. And it is nice. I have the windows open and I'm doing good. I'm just a little hunky. I'm going to eat after this.
And we're talking to all you beautiful people.
Dabs. Can you dab with your arm trackers?
Oh, I can. Wait. I gotta get the hands up.
Huh? I love it. Someone said that earlier they had asked if true about otters having oily skins. They do. They have a oil kind of oil light component to them. Most marine creatures, whether it's an otter or a penguin, have in otters, I'm sure it has a different term, but in birds, it's a preen gland, and they're able to take that and kind of coat their feathers in a way. In penguins, it's very oily, and that just protects them from water. It keeps the water on the outside and not close to their skin.
More insulated.
Someone asked, how did you guys come up with your personas? Well, I used to work with tigers. And I love tigers, so it was pretty easy for me. Green's my favorite color. Done a lot of work with tigers, and then bam, here I am. What about you, Nasi?
I don't know. Mine could be a panel in itself. I took a long time to kind of piece my character together and come up with a concept. But I mean, I just ended up picking creatures that I really liked and were very colorful and fun, and stitched them together. So the basis is like a marvelous spatula-tailed hummingbird and a ring-tailed mongoose is like what this griffin character is made up of.
Nice. That's so cool. I've always loved your character design. It's so unique.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
To Dr. Wildlife, if you were to talk about your favorite animal species, which one would it be for you and why? Tigers, hands down. Tigers are what made me to decide to completely change my career path. I'd always wanted to be a vet from when I knew what a career was up until basically the end of my 4-year college degree, and I started working with tigers and realized, I'm just summarizing this very quickly. I realized the plight of them in the wild and how many issues they had, and I felt like I could make a real difference with educating others and doing like inspirational talks in zoos and creating these amazing zoological experiences at zoos and aquariums for folks to learn to care about these animals. So tigers completely changed my career path. I declined a vet school acceptance because of them, and now I'm a green tiger. But I could literally do a whole class just about tigers, their biology, their behavior, and the conservation issues they face. Nasi, I'm going to direct this question at you. Someone says, is there
Sure.
anything you think is normal that most people would think is weird, like the botflies?
I mean, the thing that comes straight to mind for me is like eating bugs. I mean, I think there are quite a few people that think eating bugs is kind of weird, but I don't know. Many people around the world do it, and they are delicious if you do them correctly. If you don't just have them because they're a novelty or you're like having dehydrated crickets and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
there are plenty of insects that have a lot of added flavor on their own. There's one really cool species of leaf bug from the Middle East that has pheromones that when you crush it up, it actually tastes like a barbecue sauce, and it's just so good.
Mm.
But yeah, most people don't think about those kinds of things.
Okay, I lost my place in the chat. Someone says, I seriously wonder what the first zoologist did to learn about the vast majority of animals. I mean, just it may sound like a complicated thing, but it's actually really simple, and it's just observations. Observations
Mhm.
and notes and being curious about the world around you. I mean, the first zoologist didn't do anything too crazy or special. It was just making notes about what they were seeing, and those notes led to scientific discoveries and more people being interested in things. And that's why and honestly, I'm just seeing what the time is. We may not have time for any more questions, but that's completely fine because this is a good one to end on. You should always
Mhm.
stay curious. I think being curious shouldn't end when you're young. There's nothing wrong with still having that childlike wonder when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, anything in between or anything older. You should always maintain that. And I think that applies to the furry fandom too. You shouldn't let people dictate what you find interesting, what you're curious about, or how you act or behave. You should always be true to yourself. If you see something
Exactly.
cool and you want to be a part of it, be a part of it. If you see something neat that you want to learn more about, learn more about it. You absolutely should.
You're already
Absolutely,
on the right path
absolutely.
by being furries. There you
And ta-da, you're a furry.
go.
So, this stream or our panel is about to end, so we'll just kind of do our little closing remarks here. I personally, every time I do this panel, I learn new things about the fandom, the people that are interested in our work, and honestly about each other, because I feel like every time Nasi and I do this, it's a little bit more chaotic, and I love
Yeah.
it. In terms of Nasi, where can they find more of your content outside of this stream?
Well, if you want to find more entomology kind of science communication content, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch under Entobird. So ENTOBIRD. Yeah, just found on everything doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then for me, I'm Dr. Wildlife on literally every platform. Twitter is where I'm most involved, but I have a YouTube, a TikTok. I'm starting to do Twitch streams as well. And I'm also on Instagram. So you can find all this nerdy content in all of those places for both of us. But thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you, AnthroExpo staff. We wish we could have been there with you in person, but hopefully next year we'll be able to see you all
Yeah.
there. Thank you all so, so much. Enjoy the rest of your con.
Bye bye.
Next year, absolutely.